about technology when we're working from the city to the country and very far apart, but we generally get there in the end. So thank you for being patient, and welcome to the family daycare services from different parts of Australia actually that are joining in with us today, which is, it's fantastic, I suppose, to continue the conversation, although having said that, today's conversation will be slightly one-sided because it's very much going to be me talking and yourselves in your offices around the place listening in. Having said that, we were hoping for some interaction if that's what you want to have happen. If you do have questions, I think there might be an opportunity for you to write them into the panel on the side of your computer screen. Ricky, I can't actually read those questions, but if there's an opportunity, Ricky's going to relay them to me. So if you do have questions along the way, please put them in. We'll do our best to answer them. If we can't, it might be something that we can address through the project website, which I'm sure you're aware of. And it actually has a frequently asked questions area there. So again, we might be able to use that as an avenue for replying to you. So my name's Nikki Spalding. I've been working with the project team since the project started in support of the family daycare services education and support back in July of last year. Going on the response to the webinar session today, it would seem that many service providers and staff are keen to enter into a conversation around planning for the future success of their family daycare service, which is fantastic. The presentation was developed and is based on a business plan template taken from the Australian Government's business website, and there'll be you'll see that website come up during the PowerPoint presentation. The template has been amended to reflect family daycare service delivery, and it is endorsed by the Department of Social Services and Business Enterprise Centres Australia. Now, the business plan template, along with a copy of this presentation, will be emailed to you once the webinar has been conducted. Okay, so you will get the information as a follow-up, and we do strongly encourage you to access the template if you haven't done so already, and have a look at it and how it may support you in the work you're doing and in the operations of your service now and in the future. So therefore, and I'm hoping that you're understanding what we're going to do today. I'm going to be working with that actual template using the reflective questions and the different segments of that plan that have been put together, looking at it in relation to family daycare. So I'll be basically stepping through it. Okay, the next slide is a little bit more information about the support project. We are funded by the Department of Education and managed by New South Wales Family Daycare in partnership with Family Daycare Association Queensland. The project has included to date research, surveys, sector consultation, peak body collaboration, publications, information sessions, the website, different resources, service support, webinars, newsletters, and a variety of tools such as the business plan that we'll be working with today. The project will cease on the 30th of June of this year, and leading up to that, last year we conducted a bit of a roadshow twice around Australia, going to different parts of Australia, providing information sessions in support of services that feel that they may lose, there's a possibility that they will lose operational funding. Where we're up to with that now is more working one-on-one with services that have contacted our project team and asked for additional service and support at least, and that's via the website. There is an application there, so if you weren't aware of that, you may like to have a look at that and get some more information off the website. Okay, so the third slide just lends itself to the focus for this session. And I suppose there's a bit of the what and why of business plans and where to begin with the business plan. We'll also look at a little bit on organisational structure, the market, competition, which we're in very competitive times in all of children's services and very much so in family daycare. We will look briefly at a SWOT analysis as a review strategy. The action plan we'll look at as well, and also financial planning for the future. So we won't actually be carrying out any of these activities. As you can imagine, this is this is not really the forum for that. It's something that you'll be doing with your team there at your service. But again, we'll be working through the process. The session is based closely on the business plan template, and it will be available to you. We'll step through the plan in an attempt to make the process of planning clearer to all. We are aware that some services may work with business plans and or budgets. However, there are many services who have never developed a plan, and we can only encourage that this session is a catalyst for change. The session supports Quality Area 7, which is Leadership and Service Management under our National Quality System, and it can also support your QIP, your Quality Improvement Plan. So keep those two things in mind, that when we're talking about the future of your service, its operations and its viability, there's already guidance there within the documents that we use, I suppose in light of quality as well. Service staff should consider how stakeholders of the service could be involved in this plan. So definitely, it's when you really get into the plan, there's quite a bit involved with it, and a team approach, I think, could be the best strategy. The next slide talks about what is a business plan. So it's a document that describes your business, its objectives, strategies, target market and financial forecasts. It's a blueprint to your business's future. Plans can vary enormously in length, style and content, but the key is to ensure that the document is realistic, practical and regularly reviewed. And again, keeping in mind that this was a generic template for a variety of businesses could use, and we have looked at in the light of the needs of family daycare services. It should not only set the direction for your business, but act as a reference point for measuring performance. So business planning, although plan suggests that you're looking ahead to the future, it's an opportunity for reviewing the service. It is important to have a business plan, but it's just as important to keep it up to date. It's not a document you create once and store in your bottom drawer. It's a living guide that you should develop as your business grows and changes. Successful businesses review and update their business plan when circumstances change. So that's another thing to keep an eye on, that you'll put the initial work into it, but it is something that you can return to and make adjustments to. If you have a team in your business, holding brainstorming sessions is a good way to benefit from their knowledge. It ensures you're all on the same page and that you also get the support of the team. You don't have to start with a blank sheet of paper, and that's a good thing, like I said, because it could be quite complex. To write an effective business plan, you'll need discipline, time and focus. Although the process can seem challenging, it is very rewarding and gives you a sense of control over your business. You don't, the business plan template and guide, there is more information available on the government's website, so you can access that following on from this session, and when you've accessed the plan off our website. It was created by experts to help you secure yourself financially and achieve your business goals. It gives you a clear and concise process to follow. So that's why we've chosen it, I suppose, on your behalf, and as mentioned before, had others look at it in light of does it meet our needs as well. So the next slide says, why should you have a plan? Being that we're all very, very busy people and our time is precious, and here's something else we're being asked to do. But a business plan provides a roadmap for success. A complete, thoughtful business plan is one of the most valuable tools in helping you reach your long-term goals. It gives your business direction, defines your objectives, maps out strategies to achieve your goals, and helps you to manage possible bumps in the road. Business planning can seem overwhelming and time-consuming, but many successful businesses look at it as an opportunity. Some information will only need to be gathered for your initial plan, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The planning process helps you to learn about the different forces and factors that may affect your success. If you're already in business, it helps you to step back and look at what's working and what you could improve on. And instead of worrying about the future, a business plan helps you to give you a sense of control over your business and your livelihood. So writing and researching for your business plan gives you the chance to learn about your industry, the market and the competitors. It helps you write down exactly where you are in the market and where you're headed. There's the opportunity to identify challenges you may come across and work out strategies to avoid or overcome them. It assists you to understand your business finances, including managing cash flow and determining your break-even point. It will assist you to set specific goals, timeframes for achieving them, and how you'll measure the performance. It also assists you to make sound business decisions that focus your activities, maximise your resources, and give you a competitive edge. Okay, the next slide is actually the start of the business plan template. So what I've done here is taken the template apart, I suppose, pulled it apart and put sections of it onto different slides. And as I said, we'll just talk through the process of how it's done. I did find that when I was going through it myself, working through it myself, I did find, although we have put it here in a certain order, and I followed the order of the template itself, there's some things that you might find that you're doing at different times, and then collating and putting the information back in its place, I suppose. So although it is a process, it's not necessarily you have to do this followed by this followed by this. As I said, there could be 2 or 3 things happening at one time, or a reshuffle depending on your time restraints. So the business plan template, I suppose this first page is like the cover sheet for the business plan. It's the basic information that will identify your service. So if you have a big business logo, that you could put it on the front of the template. Your name, your title, the business's name and the address for the business. You could also put on this front page the ABN and the ACN, although they do come up in a couple of pages time as well, a couple of slides time. Business plans tend to go, I would think, for at least 3 years. So you would nominate the years you're looking at. So of course, because we're encouraging you to make the start now, we've put in 2015 to 2018. So that gives you an idea of, yes, you're putting this amount of work in, but because it's an opportunity for you to look not only at the short term of the operations, the service, but the long term as well. Prepared by, and that would be the your name and those that were involved in putting this plan together. The next slide talks about the executive summary. So the summarising of the information, which is really interesting because after the title page you've got the summary. But what it does, what they do suggest is that you actually complete this page last, taking into account the information that you have gathered. So your business plan summary should be no longer than a page, and it should focus on why your business is going to be successful. The information included should briefly summarise the more detailed answers provided throughout the body of the plan. The summary allows you to consider all of the collated information and also take the positives from it to move forward with your business. A summary can be used as a report if you're required to share a snapshot of the future of the business to stakeholders of the service, such as management committees, auspicing bodies, educators, others that are either stakeholders or on your team as such. So again, suggested that you do it after you've completed the rest of the business plan and you're taking that snapshot and putting it together in pretty much what would be a one-page report. The next slide, again, some business information, some of it doubling up from that first page. So you could decide whether you're going to put it on this page as well, or just collate these two and put them together. Again, the business, your business name, and also your business structure. So whether you're a sole trader, in a partnership, whether it's part of a trust, a company, or how you've actually set the business entity up. Going back to the business name, that's the name that's entered or registered in your state or territory. And if you've not registered your business name, you could actually put the proposed name there. The ABN is the Registered Australian Business Number, and for that you would have to go through the taxation department. So again, you can look on the government website. The Registered Australian Company Number, if it is applicable. The business location, so main business location, and because we work with coordination units, that would probably be the address there. The date established, the day you started training, so when your business actually began. Business owners, you would then list all the business owners at this time. Products and services, basically what you're offering, and in our situation it's a family daycare service, although you may want to put a little bit more information there to expand on that, you know, what's included in your family daycare service, if it's you know, education and care of children, you know, Monday to Friday, certain hours, that type of thing, or whether it's, you know, 7 days a week, or whether you do 24-hour care, whatever it might be, you might just put that little bit of information about the service that you're offering. The next slide is about the market, and this, again, is just, I think, you could even address this because there's more market information that's gathered further on in the plan, or encouraged that you gather it. So you may want to put this collated information together after you've conducted some studies or done some research yourself, or worked with your team looking at the actual market. So it talks about the target market. Who are you selling to? Why would they choose your family daycare service over other service types? One thing I'll just mention too in reading that, a thing that I find a positive about this plan and how it has been set up, is that there actually are questions, reflective questions written throughout it. And again, to give you, I suppose, some scope and some structure for addressing the different parts of the plan, you could actually go about answering these questions, or again, you know, eliciting the support of the team that you work with, or the stakeholders, and also getting them to give you some feedback on the questions that are being asked. So that question there, I think, is a very good one. Why would they choose your family daycare service over another service type? The goals and objectives, what are your short and long-term goals? What activities will you undertake to meet them? So you could put this type of information together in point form. And it's an interesting thing, again, once you start discussions like this and put these questions out to the others involved, I think it's quite interesting what does come up, and you might find with that you actually get a lot of information, and you may need to prioritise, looking that you've only got so much time available to you, and what is, I suppose, most important at this time for you to be addressing. But putting goals and objectives together, identifying your target market, you know, it's lending itself to an action plan in the future. The next slide talks about the finances. It says, briefly outline how much profit you intend on making in a particular time frame. Not necessarily is everybody going to make a profit. We are looking at services that will be looking at a break-even budget as well. Having said that, even with the break-even budget, what you would do is probably often be working on slightly less utilisation as such, or EFTs, than would be your maximum, so that you wouldn't be looking at 100% capacity, I suppose, looking at less than that. Therefore, what you're doing is building in a slight surplus, not necessarily called a profit, although pretty much the same, but a surplus, so that it creates a buffer, because as we know, in any year in family daycare, things can change. How much money will you need up front? Now this is particular for services that are new services starting up, or services that may be you know, bringing about change, or looking at structural changes or operational changes. Where will you obtain these funds? So where is funding or income available to you? What portion will you be seeking from other sources? So again, within the finances, you'll be identifying what will come to you in the way of income and what may come in relation to funding if you are eligible for it. What portion, how much of your own money are you contributing towards the business? And again, for those that are business owners as well as operators, I think that's a wise question to ask, and something that you probably would need to identify. So this is a snapshot of your current and future financial position. Actually researching and writing this information down encourages you to have a better understanding and also take control of the financial position of your business. At this point, I'll just ask Ricky if there's been any questions.
I've answered them all actually. Most of them were about audio, so if you just mind bringing the mic slightly closer to your mouth, I think that'll solve it.
Oh, okay. Righty, that's fine, we can do that.
Yep, that sounds better.
Okay, excellent. All right, so the next slide actually brings up an organisational chart. Now, within the business plan template, they do actually say that this is optional as such. So it may be something that you already have put together, an organisational chart, and if not, it might be you know, something that you want to undertake, just to have a look at how your service is structured. I just find these visuals, these visual representations such as a chart, can assist others to understand the arrangement of stakeholders in the service. So in other words, not presuming that everybody knows exactly the structure, the organisation, the management, how that takes place within the service as well, the line of management. The organisational chart reflects who reports to who, and it may be different for all services or for many services. So please be understanding what we have put here is just an example. We're not saying that this is exactly how a service should be set up, the structure of the service. It's just an example for you to consider. And again, these type things are, you know, with technology today, quite easy to put together, and in sharing information it can be very, very useful. It can be viewed as reporting, to say, up and down to reflect the management structure. So, you know, where are the lines of communication as well, where is the responsibility, that type of thing. So again, it's a visual of that information. Okay, key positions is the next slide.
Nikki, just before we do, someone's asked where our marketing team finances section. Nikki, can you hear me?
Oh, okay. So, yes, I can. So there's more information coming up about financing and marketing in the later slides. So and in there, if they're working off the template, it just again has that information, or those couple of slides that we've already passed, but the actual, I suppose, breaking it down and how to look at it will come up in later slides. So it's like there'll be more information to come.
Okay. The other question was, apart from admin levy, what type of fees can we charge? The operational support funding will no longer be there after June 2015.
Okay, well, there's services make a decision, I suppose, on the different levies that they charge depending on the market, understanding what the needs of the service are in respect of bringing in an income and how much, because of course different levies that you might put on might bring in some money, but it may not be enough, just say if you are losing the funding to cover the shortfall there. So yes, often an admin levy, some services, and I haven't got my list in front of me, so I'm sorry, I'm just going off my memory. Some services charge registration fees of educators, also sometimes of families, and sometimes those registration fees will be a one-off when the family initially joins the service. Other times it may be a yearly fee that's asked of the family. There might be fees charged for attendance for play session. Of course, if there's any transport by the coordination unit staff of educators, that will be charged to the educators, well, hopefully to cover the cost or come towards it. Like I said, I'm sorry I don't have that list in front of me, but it may be something, Ricky, that we can put a little bit more information up on our project website in the frequently asked questions area. We might be able to address it with a little bit more detail. And again, just keeping in mind that services put in a range of strategies, I suppose, or ways of increasing their income, and it's just a matter of deciding what is going to work for your service, what suits the families and the educators that you work with, what services you're offering, and therefore, you know, a realistic charge for any of them as well. And it's also, I think, very important that everything, of course, is deeply considered, but also that there is communication with others within, you know, stakeholders of the service about, you know, what fees you might be looking at either increasing or adding, and you know, why that's actually happening. So it's always a matter of, okay, well, what are people getting for their money? I suppose it's the bottom line. But yes, so if Ricky's able to make a note of that, we will put something up on the website, and I'm not thinking today, but it will probably be in the next couple of weeks. We'll put something together there in the way of some suggestions or information that we've gathered from different services. Does that sound okay, Ricky?
That sounds okay. I can definitely do that. The last question was, is the levy fixed by the government or the service provider?
The administration levy is actually up to the service providers to decide, and again, it's based on a range of things, as in addressing or identifying what is being offered to the educators or to the families, and being very clear about what is being offered to them. So, you know, so the charge is appropriate to what is being offered. So very much an individual decision for services. But again, just keeping in mind, in a very competitive market, any fees to families, any levies to families, you know, they have to consider in light of, you know, paying fees and what other services may be offering and charging, and also the same with educators as well. So yeah, so I can only encourage that if you're looking at those type of things, that you're making very informed decisions that are also inclusive of others' opinions, I suppose, and consultation. Okay, so the next slide was key positions. And in respect of key positions, what they're suggesting here is that you put together some sort of a table of the staff of the service. So everybody who is involved in you know, providing the service across the board, I suppose. The example there that you can see, it has the job title, so you're not looking at people's specific names, you're actually looking at the roles or the positions that are required for your family daycare service. So the first example they've given there is the nominated supervisor. They're also suggesting that you have a look at the average turnover in that position, and if you're an established service and have been running for some years, you know, that's probably not you know, not hard to gather that information and and to work out an average. But for new services, you'd probably be leaving that one blank, or fairly new services, until you have a history as such that you can look back on. It suggests that you put together the skills or the strengths required for those positions. And again, you're not looking at individuals, you're looking at the position and what that position means to service delivery. The example again for the nominated supervisor would be looking at the relevant qualifications, at least 5 years experience in the industry. Now remember, this is only an example. Award in marketing excellence. Well, they may not need an award in marketing excellence, but it might be that you're looking for somebody with marketing experience. And there may be other things as well, within the position description as such, that will already give you the parameters for the skills and strengths that you're looking for, and what is essential and what is desired. But it might be things such as that the person needs to have a driverless license, and that may be essential, and something that might be desirable is that they can speak a second language. If you're in an area where it is multicultural, or there is a group there that you can support by somebody having this second language, well, that might be something that you're looking for as well. So, and again, if you go back to the position description, that should be fairly clearly spelled out there. From this as well, although it doesn't show up on the slide right now, but I think it does on the template, what you then can do is consider other staff that you may require. So describe if the service requires additional staff and the position they would hold. So again, it's giving you the opportunity to review the service as it is now and the positions that are there, but also is everything being met, or for your business to move forward, for the service to grow, whatever it might be that you need, that it may be that a position needs to be created, or maybe there needs to be change within the positions that are already there. The next slide is the service description. And again, within the template, it asks you to briefly describe your service. So, and the following points, I suppose, there's reflective questions within each of them on your template that will guide you to gather that information. So the market position, where does your service fit in the market? How do you compare to your competitors? So it allows you to think about that objectively and put some information together from what you know, or from research you might put forward. Anticipated demand. So what is the level of demand for service that your customers may require? For example, how much care will an individual family require in 12 months? That, again, if you have been fairly well established for a period of time, you might be able to put something together as, what is the average care that an education the family requires with your service. And you might find that, the majority or the average of families are looking for care for 2 children 3 days a week, or something like that. So again, going back to putting some statistical information together to I suppose, to guide that answer. Also allowing yourself then to consider the future and what is the anticipated demand, so looking forward. Pricing strategy. Do you have a particular pricing strategy? And that's a fair question, again, in light of when we're looking at levies and charges either to educators or to families. How are we putting together these ideas as such? How are we putting a dollar figure on what we're offering? So therefore, what is the pricing strategy? What discussions have gone on, what research? Levies, etc. If you don't have a strategy, this could be an item for your action plan. Okay, so again, down towards the end of the template, it does encourage you to put together an action plan. So within that, you might identify when you're answering these other questions that actually we don't have a pricing strategy, that maybe that's something that we could work on. And again, with looking at the resources that we've tapped into, there might be more guidance for you there. The value to customers. Okay, how do customers and clients view your service? Is it a necessity, is it a luxury, or is it something in between? And this relates to both families and educators. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about this in a few slides' time. The growth potential. So what's the anticipated percentage growth of your service in the future, and what will drive the growth? So having said that, not all services want to grow. Some services may wish to just maintain the number of educators and families that they support within the community. Others may see there's an opportunity for growth. So again, it's looking at anticipated percentages, where that growth will come from, and I suppose therefore how you're going to meet demand. The next slide, which again the information is there on the template that you'll be referring to, is about insurances, and it just looks at different insurances that some of them you may want to consider, and others are necessities for any business. The first being workers' compensation. So you provide details if you have workers' compensation insurance, and it is mandatory if you have any employees. The public liability insurance, it covers third-party death and injury. So again, that is a necessity. Professional indemnity insurance, it covers any legal action taken out as a result of your professional advice. So that's maybe something that you want to gain more information on. Product liability insurance covers, again, any legal action that may result of injury, damage or death from your product or service. Business assets. In the event of a fire, burglary or damage, for example, building contents, motor vehicles, that type of thing. So it means looking at insurance for those, whether building and content for the business. Business revenue. If you have insured your business in the event of business interruption, where you cannot trade because of a particular event and are unable to make money, there's also income protection insurance as well. So again, there's safety guards if for some situation the business or yourself as a business owner or as an employee, however it's going to work, are unable to continue to earn an income for a period of time, that would cover you then. These are things, though, that again we will just allude to, and the template, I suppose, filling it out encourages you to find out more information and what is relevant to you, and also what's a necessity of the service. The risk assessment. This is looking at it from, I mean, we're probably in children's services, we're all very used to risk assessments and putting them together in relation to the children's health and well-being, you know, when we're looking at environments, excursions, that type of thing. This is coming from the perspective of a risk management or risk assessment of our actual business. So the risk would be the description of the risk and the potential impact to your business. So it's identifying it. I will mention probably just a couple of examples here that, you know, could be relevant to you. Perhaps the loss of community support program funding. So that at this time, that's the real risk to quite a lot of services. So it's identifying that and what the potential impact that would have on your service. the likelihood of it happening, whether it is highly unlikely or not very likely, and again, you know, this is working on very simple premise like we would for our risk assessments with the children. The impact, what impact would it have? Would it have, you know, just say you did lose the complete funding you had under the support program, what kind of impact is that going to have? If it's, you know, 40-something% of your budget, you might find that the impact is actually pretty high. Strategies, what actions will you take to mitigate the potential risk to your business? There's other things, and just a couple of examples I thought of too, you know, sudden loss of staff. When we work very closely with, well, sometimes we're working with ratios and other times we're working with just a workload we know we can manage and we want to continue to effectively manage, but loss of staff, you know, that can put a service at risk of offering the quality of service that they want to the community and to the stakeholders. The loss of number of educators in a short period of time. Again, we're in a competitive situation, and I'm sure everybody is aware of movement of educators who are either finishing up with services or moving to other services. Now, that might be a risk that you want to consider and have a discussion with your team about, you know, what's the likelihood of that and what impact would that have? And again, the strategies you can take that are proactive in perhaps avoiding that situation, but also reactive, because if it does happen, it might mean that, well, of course, the first one you would think of that, you know, you may have families who don't have the care that they need or require.
Nikki, can I just ask a few questions?
Yes.
So
yes.
Someone has asked, how does product liability relate to family daycare?
Product liability, just let me go back a slide. Look, I'm not 100% sure on that in relation to family daycare, and just a little bit of information I have got in front of me. So that might be something, as I said, if you're working through the template, that you may need to, well, you would need to get more information on. Because we don't offer, well, most services aren't offering a product as such. They're in, family daycare is in the business of offering a service. So it's where that is relevant to us, or whether family daycare that is only offering family daycare would be covered by other insurances.
Which insurances are common?
Questions, Ricky?
Yeah. Which insurances are common and mandatory for family daycares?
Which insurances? The public liability is a necessity, and I think to some degree the others, I'm just looking, some degree the others may be well, business assets, if you're looking at buildings and motor vehicles and things like that, I don't know if that's so much a, I think it's something most businesses would need to take out. So that would be an insurance that you would be looking at, only that because of the impact, if anything did happen in the way of, you know, loss of a building or a motor vehicle, something like that. So you would want to be insured for that. And the others, again, you have to look into whether they are compulsory or whether you actually do have some, you know, leeway for making a decision yourself there. Workers' compensation, again, if you are employing any employees, that is also mandatory.
And someone's asked you to expand on risk management by giving more examples.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going back to that slide. Yeah, so like, what did I put? I put the loss of funding, loss of staff, loss of educators in a period of time. I think I think the thing is to think of anything that could impact on your services delivery that's not minor as such. That's not minor. You know, it could be something happening within the management structure of the service. It could be something if services are privately owned. It could be something that happens within, you know, the finances or the ownership situation there. Just trying to look. And whether the risks also could come, because sometimes they're going to be internal, things that can happen internally within the service, and like I said, management structure, that type of thing, but also external. So risk management, if there was, I'm just thinking, you know, we're highly regulated, so if there was a breach of regulations that can in any way cause the business to be suspended or closed, anything like that you would be looking at. And again, whether there's an opportunity there for a team approach to have that discussion. And it's to some degree, it's almost like we don't want to go there. You know, we don't want to dwell on the negatives, but it's just an opportunity for the team to have the discussion, to identify possible risks. And again, I think brainstorming could be very wise in this area, and putting forward strategies, whether they might be, as I mentioned before, proactive. Okay, well, there are things that can be put in place so that the risk is either negated or minimised, or reactive, as in if something did happen, well, this is how we could respond to it. Look, I'm just even thinking of, you know, we've had some interesting weather of recent times. You know, are there things beyond our control as such, but that could actually affect the business operations. So again, probably the more major things though that you would be looking at. Any other questions, Ricky?
Yeah, someone has said no or low demand for service is a risk factor.
Yes, that's very true. And you know, again, it's a competitive market that we're working in and trying to survive in, and services are. Some services are being put at risk by the starting up of new services, you know, so sometimes a saturation in the market that they've been working in, that they've had a good hold of for quite a while. So, you know, there's only so many families and children to go around, and this will only pertain to some areas. It might be country services feel this more than city services. So, yes, definitely those type of things could be risks that we identify.
Someone said, do we look at threats only or threats and opportunities?
Well, in this situation, in the risk management, and when I was going through it myself, I was thinking, but are there other things that aren't so bad? But really, what we're going to do or look at a little further on is the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So I think that's where you could, and I suppose this risk management lends itself to that as well. That's a team activity that can take place where you actually try and turn things around. You can identify threats to the service, but you can also identify opportunities. So we'll have a look at that very soon.
Someone said, what about areas of educators, owners not getting the same vision? Legal issues are also risks.
Yes, yeah, good examples, and that's what I mean. You can see from you know, people considering it already and putting other things forward. That's the value of brainstorming and getting some ideas, so that you're not kind of tunnel visioned, which I think I was when I was putting my answers together, or my examples together, was kind of at loss at the time. But yes, as I said, there's going to be internal risks and there's going to be external as well, and some we might be able to identify before they happen, and some we won't. They'll be very unexpected to us. But definitely a teamed approach for this discussion, and also the SWOT analysis.
Okay, and the last question is, where can I find the application to apply for CSP funding, and when does it need to be submitted?
For, what was it, which funding?
For CSP funding, Community Support Program funding.
Oh, okay. Well, you can go onto our project website, and there are links there to the department. And if you're a new service or you're looking at starting one up, and you're wanting to apply, you could look at the application there. Otherwise, for services that already are receiving funding, as you'd be aware, the department will only accept applications for funding from July 2015 on in April of this year. But definitely go on to the department, go to the department's website via our website if you wish. The links are there and very straightforward. Okay, so Ricky, I'll just move on to the next slide, which looks at legal considerations. What it suggests within the template is that you actually list the legislation which will have some impact on the running of your business. For example, the specific legislation under which you operate your service. And also consider other examples like rental agreements, pending legal action, anything like that. And they're just the examples that they put together. But keeping in mind being legally compliant relies on being aware of rules and regulations. So some examples that you should be aware of are below, although service operators may require specific advice in this area. So again, we're just putting forward some ideas, some suggestions, but this is something you may need advice, and often the department, or I'm hoping the department could let you know if, particularly if you're a newer service, what legal considerations you have to make. Some of the ones that I just put together in a list, of course, that stand out very clearly are education and care services, national law and regulations. There's the occupational health and safety, work cover, equal employment opportunity, there's the Privacy Act, anti-bullying laws, there's Australian taxation laws. And again, so that's just a short list of things that we need to be aware of, and that might pertain directly to the operation or the service management, but keeping in mind there's quite a lot of other things too. I'm just thinking of educators using different equipment that has to meet Australian standards, those type of things. So there's quite a few things that we do need to be aware of. So what they're suggesting is that you do put a list together so that it is very clear to you and others what laws and regulations you are working with in Australia. The next slide is operations, and what it suggests here is that you actually describe the processes that are involved with recruiting staff, recruiting educators, and also enrolling children and families. Okay, so it's actually suggesting that those processes are very clearly defined. What I did consider with each of these as well is that there should be policies around recruitment of staff and educators, and definitely the enrolment of children into the service. So when you're putting this information together, you should be able to look at that policy and your procedures and see that the process is outlined or clearly defined. And it's important to have it clearly defined because that allows for consistency and transparency. It also, keep in mind, clear processes to follow can be cost efficient as well, because sometimes when we're running around trying to find the answers, that's time consuming for staff and others. So therefore, if the processes are very, very clear, it can be cost efficient. And again, policies and procedures around each of these activities. If you identify that that there are gaps in the information that you're looking at, again going back to your policies and procedures, this could be then an area for improvement. It might be something that you put on your action plan. that when you went back to this information, it didn't spell out processes clearly to you and to others who might need to refer to that information. Therefore, you might have to do some more work on those policies and procedures. Resources and equipment is the next slide, and it suggests that you list your current plant and equipment purchases. They can include vehicles, computer equipment, phones, copying machines, those type of things. So again, you're probably looking at your larger assets. It's given an example there of how you can set up a simple table that has equipment, the date of purchases, the purchase price, and it also suggests there that you put together a running cost. So that might be something that you can base on the past as such. So if you're looking at how much the 3 mobile phones cost to run or operate, you might be able to look at, you know, the last 12 months of bills for those phones and the initial cost of them as well, to give you some idea. But if you're buying things new, again, you'll just be estimating, or if you're purchasing or bringing something into the service. But services are wise to keep records of resources and equipment that they purchase, as depreciation of some items might be a factor when it comes to tax time. And again, the taxation department information will guide you there, or your accountant. You can identify the cost of maintaining the items, because that's also important when you're considering the budget. You know, can you actually afford how much you're paying? At times it may be cost effective to replace older items, and that's sometimes very true. You know, we come to a point where we look at the efficiency of the equipment that we're using, and is it meeting our needs as well. The next slide is it speaks of the inventory and in respect of technology and communication. So what technology do you require? For example, website, point of sale software, accounting package. What will be the main purpose for each of them? Will they be off the shelf, or will they be purpose built? You know, some people might elicit the aid of a website designer when putting something together for their servers. Others, you know, might have people who are very skilled within their team that can address those needs. So what's the estimated cost of each technology solution? So again, weighing it up, the effectiveness and the viability. Communication channels. How can your customers get in contact with you? These channels can include the telephone or the landline and mobile, post office box, shop front, email, faxes, internet blogs, social media channels. And I know from my work with family daycare services around the countryside, you know, a lot more are looking at that social media opportunity for sharing information about their service, and that might be the actual coordination unit itself, and definitely individual educators as well. I'm just looking. Yeah, so again, looking within the team though, who has expertise or knowledge here, or whether you need to outsource some of this, so that you're really making wise decisions. The other thing too, keeping in mind with communication and technology, is a policy within your service that supports social networking as such, and how it's going to be used, and the parameters for it, so that it is very professional, and it supports the service, the quality of the service, and it gets out the message that you want to share with others. But there has to be, yeah, some parameters there, I think, and some moderation. The next part of the template, and therefore the next slide, looks at the sustainability plan. It doesn't say it's optional, but something like this possibly could be, or it might be something that, again, you get somebody from within the team, or a small group within the team to look at, and within our own national quality standards, when they were brought in 2012, you know, sustainability, both, you know, within the educators' environments and the coordination unit environments, you know, was something that we were asked to consider. So first off, it suggests community impact and engagement. How does your environmental impact affect the local community? So how can you engage the community and minimising your impact? So what is the impact your service has in the community? And you know, is it positive? Will it be viewed positive by others, or are there things that you can do? And I think family daycare, and particularly with our educators, there's an opportunity for us to really look at sustainability, but also raising the profile of family daycare within the communities that we offer care and education in relation to, you know, what things we are doing. So, you know, it's making the use of the community, encouraging the educators to know what's available to them and where they can bring the families and the children in as well. Risk constraints. List any risks or constraints to your business resulting from the environmental impact. And again, you know, we looked at risk management before, or identifying risks, and there might be things that come up there that you know, we need to put on an action plan, or we need to consider how we're going to manage or again negate the risk. Strategies. What strategies will you implement to mitigate your environmental impact and any risk to your business? Will you conduct an environmental audit? Have you introduced an environmental management system? Again, I really think with some of these large organisations may have the opportunity for doing this on a bigger scale or support with it, but services of any size can actually do an environmental audit. And with those things, I'm just thinking, you know, a lot of services are moving more towards being paperless. So therefore, the impact environment of using less paper is great, but of course it's also cost effective for the business as well.
Nikki, can I just ask two questions?
Next slide.
Nikki?
Yes.
Can I just ask two questions? Are you referring to physical impact, environmental impact only?
Yes, in this part of the template, yes, that's what they were. It was environmental. It wasn't like a financial sustainability perspective. So they were talking about the environment, and that's what I meant. So services need to decide if that's something they want to get into now, if they've already done it, if they have time for it now, or like is there somebody, as I said, or a team within the team that can have a look at that and how large you want to go with that. But yes, so but definitely it was environmental. Any other question, Nikki?
Any recommendations to source a media policy template?
Oh, okay, Community Childcare Co-op, I know are very, very good on their templates, but having said that, it may be that they only share them with members of their organisation, so you may like to look into that. Sometimes there's private organisations that do write up policies and will sell templates, whether they do that as an individual policy or whether you buy a package of. But just being aware it really needs to fit your needs and to meet your needs or the service, the philosophy of the service, and that's the thing. I think sometimes you can tap into these things, but you'll do a fair bit of work on them yourself. So being prepared for that. I think if there's an opportunity for networking, that's probably one of the best ways and the most effective ways. If you have an opportunity to talk with other services or providers or managers about, you know, what they're doing and how they've addressed this. And I have noticed, again, working with different children's services and particularly family daycare, this has become more of a focused topic probably over the last year or two. As educators are wanting particularly to use social media to, you know, be in touch with each other and with their families. And services have also wanted to address social media, particularly from a marketing perspective and communication, again, with families and educators, but it's setting those parameters, putting those parameters in place so that it remains very professional and the contact is very appropriate. So, yeah, so if you've had an opportunity for networking, I think that would be a great avenue. Otherwise, let's see what community childcare have, or our other peak bodies as such. Okay, if we're ready to move on, Ricky, we might have a look at the action plan. Thank you. This is the action plan, and it's very, very simply done, and I did notice that really throughout this whole business plan template that their suggestions, and particularly their charts, have been simply addressed, and I think that can be quite wise. I don't think we need to make it harder or more complex than it is. An action plan, sustainability strategies. Oh, this is the action plan following on, sorry, from the sustainability plan. I'm thinking it's an overall action plan that's sustainable. So it's suggesting some examples there. You might reduce your water consumption. So the action would be, okay, how about are you going to do that? You know, are you going to put in, you know, I know some services have put in water tanks so that they're, you know, using that for gardens, just say, watering lawns. Responsibility. So who's going to be responsible for seeing this through? Again, when we get to action plans, they can tend to have quite a few items on them, things that need to be addressed. So it really shouldn't be the work of one sole person, but sharing those responsibilities around. Giving a time frame, a month, that you might want things done by, or a year, I think is a sound thing to do. Without time frames, things can be very, very overwhelming. They can either drag on, or you can feel that you don't have enough time to complete them in the manner that you wish to. So definitely putting some time frames in, I think, helps everybody. I'm just looking at other examples. They had reduced water consumption, reduced energy consumption, and I know of services that I visited, you know, sometimes just putting simple messages above light switches and that are just reminders for people to turn switches off, to turn lighting and things off, putting in, you know, energy efficient globes, you know, a variety of small strategies can all go towards helping. And whether it be, you know, long term, you might be looking at something like putting solar panels in that, you know, that will support your energy supply there. Reducing service waste. So, you know, how can that be done? And again, if you're looking at going more paperless, that will obviously help reduce waste in the short and the long term, as well as cost. Okay, the next slide. I'm just keeping an eye. We're trying to finish by 3, so I'll move through. But Ricky, happy to take those questions. We seem to be managing with them. Looking at the market, what statistical research have you completed to help you analyse your market? And did you use surveys, questionnaires or others? And of course with this plan, if you do use any tools or gather information like that, it's a good thing to put it with the plan so you can refer to it in the future, remembering that we're doing this plan over 3 years as suggested. Any marketing strategy should be assessed for the outcomes they produce. In other words, you know, if you brainstorm, we can get some wonderful ideas for marketing and advertising our service to the community, but really what are the best ways to do it that will bring in the greatest income but maybe at the lowest cost? What was the effort and financial cost involved, and what was the result? Who are you targeted market, and how can you best reach them? You may source statistical information such as projected population and commercial growth in your area from local governments. So local governments always have planning. They do strategic planning and planning for their communities to say 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead, that type of thing. And that I think pretty well should be available to the communities. So that might be information you can access. How crucial is word of mouth for bringing in new families, new educators and new staff? And again, in my work with family daycare services in different places, if you ask them, you know, how important is word of mouth, that they would say in promoting their business, in advertising their business, it's crucial. So it's a matter of everybody realising that and how they're supporting that. So the best message is getting out to the community about the service you provide. The next slide is about the customers, customer demographics. Define your target customers, who they are and how they behave. In other words, the location of the service to their work is an example that's put there. You know, where do families work? How far are they prepared to travel? You know, do families prefer care and education that's close to their work or close to their home? You know, those type of things. You know, finding that information out so you're understanding customer demographics. You can include age, gender, social status, education and attitudes. And there's a lot of things available again, even within new computer programs, Microsoft programs and that, where you can actually put statistical information in and create charts. So again, you get that visual of how things look for your service. So when you're looking at what's current, that will help you perhaps look to the future as well. Key customers, identify them. These can be your largest group of customers whose satisfaction is key to the success of your business, and how will you target your service to them. I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm speaking to you this afternoon from Albury down on the New South Wales-Victoria border, and we have a large army base over on the Victorian side. So, you know, in that, you know, there may be a key amount of customers within the Army personnel there. So, you know, it's understanding again the demographics and the community and the marketing opportunities. Customer service. How will you maintain a good relationship with your customers? What techniques will you use? How will you keep your customers coming back? So that's that obtaining, maintaining, retaining. Have you introduced customer service standards, and do you follow any particular code of practice? So it's all of those things to be considered. So who are your customers and clients, and what do they know about? What do you know about their care and education requirements? Do they require evening care, weekend care, or care for school-aged children? Does care for babies outnumber care required for preschool-aged children in your area? Can you accommodate siblings? What are the transport requirements in your family daycare area? You know, is there a lot of public transport available? Do people generally mobile, or is this a limit placed on them? Are pickups and drop-offs necessary? When reviewing the service, this area of your service, use a client-focused perspective. What's the customer's experience in your service? And I suppose I can't encourage that highly enough. Keep coming back to that question. What is the customer's experience in your service? So the customer is the family. If you're looking at bringing on new educators and keeping them with your service, you know, they could be your customers or your clients. So what's their experience as well? So definitely looking at it from that perspective. The next slide is the SWOT analysis, and anybody who's been to any sessions I've done will know that I really think a SWOT analysis is a fantastic tool or strategy to undertake with the team. The family daycare team should be involved in the SWOT as the different perspectives are key to its success. Action plans can follow a SWOT analysis because often you identify directions that you want the service or business to take. So what you'll be doing, list each of your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities or threats in the table, and then outline how you plan to address all of these, particularly the weaknesses and threats, which could then become opportunities. When you identify strengths in the service, can they be used in marketing your service in the community? So again, looking, you know, doing this initial activity with the team can lead you in different directions. It can actually provide you with quite a lot of information. So where are the opportunities? Often when we identify a weakness or threat, it can be counteracted by addressing the opportunities it may also provide. So an example here I put is that there's an unmet demand for school-aged care during school holidays in your area. Okay, so you've previously turned families away, so therefore that becomes a threat or a weakness in your service. But you decide to conduct a marketing campaign, which is an opportunity, over 6 months for new educators who will offer school-aged care exclusively, either exclusively or as part of the broad age range program that they offer. So again, recognising where the service is up to now, but where are there opportunities there? What can be addressed? Where can you move forward? The next slide refers to the competitors. And I thought this was interesting even for myself, looking at this part of the template and considering it. I think sometimes discussions about our competitors within family daycare, and whether it be from the educators or the service staff perspective, the coordination unit, I think sometimes it's a conversation that might be had, and sometimes over a coffee or a lunch break, or that, you know, loosely within a meeting. But this actually gives us an opportunity to really consider in this competitive market, who are our competitors, what do we know about them, and where do we sit with competition. So how do you rate against your competitors? How can your business improve on what you offer or on what they offer? What I suggest here is objectively and professionally assessing who your competitors are and what they offer the community can assist you to plan for the future as you identify markets which you can tap into. And I go back to those keywords there, objectively and professionally. So it doesn't have to be you know, a bit of a witch hunt or anything like that. It just can be from a business point of view, understanding the market you're in and those around you, what they're offering, and again looking at the opportunities there for yourself, your service in the future. Ricky, were there any questions?
Market share, how do we get these figures?
Market share. I'm just trying to think of best ways. I'm just going back to that actual slide. What statistical research have you completed to help that you have analysed your market? The census information is always available on the government's website. So the census is done, I think, every 5 years. So you know that's not too many years ago. I forget when the next one is due. But going back to that information, because that actually tells you it breaks information down to demographics in different ways, but definitely, you know, the ages in different communities, the number of children that families are having, or the average number, that type of thing. So you might be able to get information there, but it also will tell you information about, you know, families' work habits as such, travel habits, you know, their family needs as well. So there might be some information you can derive from that. I'm not sure how specific councils will be with the information they have available, but it might be something you could look at your local government website and see if they had something available, or otherwise give them a call, give somebody a call and see if you can talk to somebody about statistical information that might be available to you. I'm not sure that there's anything. Just thinking, Family Daycare Australia may have information on their website as well, which may give you some information or support with what you're looking for, but whether it's specific to the needs of actual communities or service areas as such. So yeah, so I'm not sure that I've got any more ideas on that one. Again, networking, if you have the networking opportunities, others might have already gone down that path and they might be able to give you ideas of where they did gain information from.
How can we find out our competitors' weaknesses and strengths? Competitors would be unwilling to share such info.
Yeah, I think, no, you're right. I don't know that it's necessarily a conversation you could have over the phone. I think it's from your knowledge of who's in the community, and again, there's word of mouth, and also if sometimes we have families that come from other services, have we gained any information from them about why they've made the move, why they've chosen your service over another? How did they find out about your service? All of those type of things, will help you with your marketing and understanding your competitors. The other thing is when families and educators leave our service, has anybody had a conversation with them about, particularly if they're going elsewhere, how did they make that decision? And again, trying to do this in not an emotive way, but in objectively gathering information so you understand, you have a bit of understanding. So a lot of it, I think, will be gleaned from what you actually do know about the other services, and that may be indirectly. It might be information that you actually get off their websites. If they've got websites with information about their service, what type of things they're offering, that will also assist you just to understand how they are operating, and so where there might be similarities or differences there.
And someone has said, I've tried local government, but they have a family daycare themselves, so they don't share this info.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a shame that somebody's hit a roadblock there, because I had just felt that there probably would be generic information available. It may not be specific to just family daycare or children's services, but generic information about the community, the families, the projected growth, because that is part of what councils have to do, and local governments have to do. So, yeah, so like I said, it's a shame to hear that somebody's already hit a roadblock there, because again, you're just trying to, I think it depends on what information you're asking for as well. I know sometimes services aren't willing to share information specific about their fees and levies and that type of thing, but more generic information you might be able to tap into.
All right, that's it.
Okay, will we keep moving forward? The next slide is advertising and a promotional strategy. Have you got that one? Thanks, Ricky. What strategies do you have for promoting and advertising your product or your service as such in the next 12 months? So have you actually considered that, and again looked at it as part of the team, some ideas and brainstorming there? Plan promotion or advertising type. It could be print media, advertising, online advertising, mail out, giveaways, media releases, social media campaigns and events, and again back to that word of mouth, which you can't go past. What is the community's perception of your family daycare service? What do they see and hear about you? What do they know about you? Expected business improvements. How do you expect it will improve your business financially as well as the quality of the service? So looking at in light of it's not just the financial cost or the financial gain, but also what is the actual promotion of your service as a quality service. And yes, it does have costs and setting a target date there. Now this information appears as a table on Plan 10 of your business plan template, okay? I decided not to put the table up because it didn't seem to work easily on one slide, so I've just broken down the information there. And again, I would encourage you, if you did put a table together, that it does assist you to head you towards action, I suppose, or an action plan. Okay, we have decided we want to do more promotion of our service over the next 12 months, and these are the strategies we're going to take, and these are the people who will be involved. Again, a team approach would be beneficial as it could generate new ideas, and definitely educators as part of that team. Sales and marketing is the next slide. And it speaks of objectives Do you have individuals or a small team who could focus on sales and what sales techniques they will use, what tools, material they'll use to help promote your service, and what goals or targets will they meet? Again, enlisting the support of and expertise of individuals within the team or a small group. Unique position. Do you have an advantage over your competitors? And if so, what is it? How will your service succeed in the market where others may have failed? And again, it's looking at the competitors and what you do know, but also doing some comparisons there, some objective comparisons about where your service is up to and where your growth or your promotion might be. Using these questions for collective and individual reflection is key in developing a market plan consisting of effective strategies, because if you're going to take on the time and the cost of promotion and marketing, you definitely want it to be effective. The next slide speaks of the future, and again this is from the template. And it breaks it down. When you're looking at the future, it suggests that there is a vision statement. So what is your business's vision statement? It should briefly outline your future plan for the business and include your overall goals. And I've just got additional notes here. A vision statement identifies what an organisation would like to achieve or accomplish. Vision statements are future-based and are meant to inspire and give direction to the employees of the company rather than to the customers. So the vision statement is actually about yourself and those that work in the team of the coordination unit. And really, in our situation of complex relationships, that would also include the educators, I would think. Mission statements. What is your business's mission statement, i.e. how will you achieve your vision? Vision statements are present-based statements designed to convey a sense of why the service exists to both members of the organisation and the external community. It then speaks of goals and objectives. What are your short and long-term goals? What activities will you undertake to meet them? Goals and objectives both describe things that a service may want to achieve or attain. Goals are general, while objectives are specific. Goals are just general intentions towards the attainment of something, while objectives are precise actions for accomplishment of a specified task. So that's the difference between the two. The NQF actually requires all services to have a philosophy and also a QIP, a quality improvement plan, to support quality in all areas of service delivery and operations. So within that, we do have a philosophy and we do have a QIP that we should be working on at least a minimum of once a year, if not more frequently. But there's opportunities within that for the team to also look at its vision and mission and definitely put forward some goals and objectives. The next slide is about the action plan that was referred to before. It speaks of, and again, this is on page 11 of your business plan template. This is actually a chart that I've just broken it down and taken the sections out. It talks about a milestone. What are the business milestones that you need to complete starting from today? So that's very action orientated. What are you going to take away from today? What is going to be the first thing that you do? And it might be to make sure that you download the template and that you make a date for working on it with the team for starting, and an opportunity for starting there. Date of expected completion. What's a realistic date that you can complete this action plan within? And elements of the action plan will have different dates, but I suppose if you're looking at a three-year plan, when do you want everything done by, and I suppose when and how will the reviews take place as well. Person responsible, who is responsible for delivering this milestone? Again, very, very simple way of addressing the action plan. It does make a mention, though it doesn't include the sustainability milestones as they were listed earlier in that other action plan. It does identify the milestones which your service wishes to achieve, and will lead to identify this, and it will also assist you to lead to identify strategies that you'll use. Adding a realistic time frame will assist those responsible not to become overwhelmed by the tasks. And of course, prioritising is going to be key there as well. Okay, the next slide is key objectives and financial review. List your key financial objectives. These can be in the form of break-even or profit targets. You could also list your main financial management goals, such as cost-reducing targets. So again, it's reviewing the finances, the situation that you have now, but also looking to the future as well and setting some objectives up. The finance required. How much money up front do you need? Where will you obtain the funds? What portion will you be seeking from loans, investors, business partners, friends, relatives, venture capital, government funding? How much of your own money are you contributing towards the business? Okay, so again, I suppose that's lending itself to some degree to small business ownership or private businesses as such. But having said that, because all services will need to work with a budget, there's elements of that that everybody should consider. The next slide does talk about the budget, and within the business plan, what they actually encourage you to do is they don't give you a template for a budget as such. They do encourage you to put your budget into the business plan, like attach it. A budget, a financial forecast, is a vital tool in the financial management of your business, and like your business plan, requires regular review and amendment to be effective. Once the period for which you prepared the budget is over, be sure to compare the actual results against your budget forecast. So budgets can work in both of those ways. You're working with forecasting, so what you predict you will need in the way of income and what will go out in the way of expenditure, but then when those weeks, months, years take place, looking at the actuals and doing some comparisons. So you are learning, and again, you're taking ownership. Services are asked to include their current budget in the budget plan. Budget advice and templates can be found on the websites recommended in our resource list. So each of the resources you can tap into for more information. Advantages of an effective budget: demonstrate the financial viability of a new business venture or an existing business. Allows you to construct a model of how your business might perform financially if certain strategies, events and plans are carried out. It allows you to measure the actual financial operation of the business against the forecast financial plan and make adjustments where necessary. It allows you to guide your business in the right direction and take control of your cash flow. It provides a benchmark against which to measure for future performance. It identifies potential risks and cash shortfalls to keep the business out of financial trouble. It also provides an estimate of future cash needs and whether additional private equity or borrowing is necessary. So again, it's that review is essential, keeping an eye on the budget, updating figures as you move through the year. All of those things are really appropriate and necessary for, I suppose, effective business management. The next slide, a little bit more on budgeting, and again from the template, it includes 3 tables, which I haven't tried to replicate here because there was just too much information. But the 3 tables relate to the actual and projected or forecasted financial situation of the service. So the first one is a balance sheet which forecasts for 3 years. Services may consider the creation of a projected balance sheet as a way to facilitate long-term strategic planning, and it does break it down, and you can have a look at what your income and its expenditure is, and add it to the template. The profit and loss forecast for the years 2015 to 18. A profit and loss statement summarises the income for a period and subtracts the expense incurred for this period to calculate the profit or loss for the business. And again, some services might be looking at a break-even budget, so that still is relative to them. Expected cash flow for 12 months. An estimate of the amount of money you expect to flow in the way of receipts and out in the way of payments of your business, and it includes all your projected income and expenses. And again, much more, they go into much more detail there. They do list the elements of each of those tables. They're very, very clear to follow. We've looked at it in light of a family daycare service and what their budget would entail, and I think it is appropriate for your use. Having said that, there may be things that are pertaining to your business or your service that you may want to add or delete from it, but definitely you know, worth having a look at. Again, when you're looking at your financial situation currently and in the future, I think that's really sound. Okay, Ricky, were there any last questions before we finish up?
Someone asked, can you provide an example of a vision and mission statements?
I haven't, I'm just looking at the time that we have, and I haven't got anything in front of me, and it'd be something that I'd have to have a little look through, and I'm just wondering again, Ricky, if that's something we might be able to address on the website, if we can make a note of that and put something up.
Definitely, I can do that.
Yeah, all right, that might be good. And even if we're directing people to where, you know, there are some good examples that are very relative to family daycare. But yes, as I said, a lot of services, I've noticed a lot of services, because we do have the requirement of a philosophy or a statement of philosophy and a QIP, some won't go to a mission statement or a vision statement, and it really, I suppose, depends on the individual organisation, and sometimes it can actually be a requirement of the organisation that may be auspicing the service as such. They may require that, you know, that the service does put one together. So it's not something that everybody has to have, but it may just be something that you want to do. And sometimes it can be a good way of focusing the team. You know, when we're talking about teams and working towards common goals, this is sometimes a way of working out, well, what are those common goals? So yeah, so we'll see what we can find and share that information. Anything else, Ricky?
No, that was all.
Okay, excellent. Well, the second last slide are the resources that we've used, the recommended websites that we felt had, you know, good and important information that could guide business operators, service providers. So we would encourage you, when you do get a copy of this presentation, to follow up with any of those. But they did provide a range of information, and it does include, you'll see, Creating Our Future, and that's the guide that was put together for in support of the our project and the community support program, and that was developed late last year, and that's available either in hard copy or on our website. So it does have business information that is specific to family daycare. So if you haven't referred to it yet, I do encourage you to now. And the last slide is the contact details. You can email us directly, or there's a phone number there. Just keeping in mind that if it's not picked up on the day that you've called, if you do leave a message, somebody will get back to you. And keep an eye on our project website for updates, and also make sure you're on the email list so that if anything new comes up, you're alerted to it. So I'm pretty well keeping to the time. Thank you for being part of this webinar session this afternoon, and again, you know, joining in the discussion, and myself and the project team wish you the best, wish you well with the future.
Thank you very much, Nikki. If you have any questions, again, email them to info@familydaycaresupport.org.au, and we will get back to them as soon as we can. I'll send out the PowerPoint as soon as I can.